Hi everyone, it's Jo Carter here. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my April 2020 wrap up. I read a total of 3 books in April, 1 audio and 2 physical. I ended up keeping 1 of the books. First I'm going to talk about the audio book, which I didn't keep because I borrowed it from the library. Potentially if I had bought it on Audible, I wouldn't have returned it. Try not to return things on Audible too much because I don't want to take advantage of that option, and I did actually finish this book and gave it 4 stars, so I think I would be down to read it again. It is called Great Pioneer Women of the Outback by Susanna de Vries. I really enjoyed this book. It's one of something that I'm trying to read more about non-fiction. It's about women from the 1800s forward who have gone into the outback of Australia to help their husbands and their families create lives and battle all these extreme really remote places to be able to start a life and help develop the outback and make some money and survive. I did say in my previous wrap up that I wanted to read a non-fiction book that had just one person featured, but when I came across this book I didn't want to not read it. There's not a lot of choice in my library and I was quite drawn to this one. I wanted to learn more about my culture, and because I'm Australian, and some of the great women that helped to forge it. It's all from the perspective of white European women, generally English. I think potentially there's an Irish person. They do talk about Aboriginals as well because a lot of, well not all of them, some of the women befriended Aboriginals and some of them didn't. I think there was definitely a lot of women featured in the book that loved the Aboriginal people and wanted to help them, but there was quite often a theme of violence in it where, from like the Europeans' perspective, the Aboriginal didn't understand that they couldn't just come in and take their land back and take whatever cattle was on the land, which is totally understandable because Europeans just came in. I mean, it's not understandable, it's wrong for European people, to my forefathers and foremothers, to have come in and just basically said, right, this is my land now, done, which was quite horrible, but it doesn't really get addressed in this book. It's not really what the book is about, so I'm not really going to comment much further on this, aside from that the European colonisation in Australia has obviously, and maybe not so obvious to people, but has created so much hardship and pain and tragedy for the Aboriginal people. So just, I guess, wanting to acknowledge that it was really shit of, again, what my forefathers and foremothers did. I really enjoyed the women and the perspectives of them. Some of them it was a bit hard to remember them, but because there was so many different women featured, and some of them we didn't spend a lot of time with, but these women were having to battle like death of husbands and children quite often, and actually had come from really sheltered backgrounds where they come out into Australia and all of a sudden they had to be like the cooks and the housemaids, which took hours upon hours upon hours. They had to be nurses and doctors, and they had to be stockmen as well. They had to be mothers to their children and wives to their husbands, and they had to be storekeepers. One of the things that they had to do once a year is make one big store order for the station for 1 year, because sometimes the places were so remote that there would only be one delivery per year by camel train. And can you just imagine, for all of these people on your station, as little as they were, but trying to purchase things ahead of time to last you for an entire year? Like, it's unthinkable what these amazing women had to do and go through to survive on a daily basis. The conditions were really awful, to be honest. I don't know if I would have survived in them. And just, I guess, having to survive a lot of heartbreak as well, where some were, one woman who desperately wanted to have children was really struggling to fall pregnant, and then when she finally did, I think either she had a miscarriage or she had the baby and it passed away. She actually found some closure and I guess some delight in life by becoming a botanist, and her discoveries, although not really talked about much until many years later because she was a woman, the way that she would collect seeds and preserve them and pack them and send them to this other male botanist in, I think it was over in England actually, so she would actually send them from Australia to England, all these seeds and collections, and that actually really widely helped catalogue the plants in Australia. So this is a book that I read it over I think maybe over like a week's span. It was definitely something that I had to have read in one sort of, or very close together. I listened to it while I was doing lots of gardening and cleaning. That was really good. When I stopped listening to a little bit towards the end, I kind of struggled, and that's where I forgot who some of the women were. But definitely for the most part of it, I was really engaged and really wanting to read it, and I'm looking forward to reading something more from Susanna in the future. And I feel really grateful to have been in the shoes of some of these women, because I sort of knew from an abstract way that trying to start a life in a place where there's not many people, or trying to, I guess the hard thing about their way of life is that they were trying to put a European stamp on Australian outback life, which was really hard to do because there was no quote unquote civilization. Again, the Aboriginal people were living there and surviving and thriving. Because of what this book was focusing on, I just want to speak for the resilience of these European women, that they faced hardship even though it was wrong that they were there, and that their husbands had bought land, and that you know, the Australian government or the European government in Australia thought that they could sell off this land. That was all wrong, but I still like, this book is still acknowledging the fact that these women did really well. So I really enjoyed that, and it was an excellent continuation into the non-fiction genre. Next, I finished A Storm of Swords Part 1, Steel and Snow, which is the first part in the third Game of Thrones books by George R.R. Martin, but the series is actually titled A Song of Ice and Fire. This book really helped me learn what the series title means, what A Song of Ice and Fire means. I totally get it now, and I think I want to be on the fire side, but I'm still not really sure. This book was going to be a make or break it one for me in terms of whether I wanted to continue the series. I found A Clash of Kings really hard to struggle through, which is the second book, and I remember going into this being excited but also thinking potentially this book will make me stop reading the series. I don't quite know what it was in A Clash of Kings that kept me going on. I think potentially it was that I did still enjoy some of the characters. I did still enjoy Arya, was my favourite in the second book, and I don't think who else was my favourite. So even the fact that I can't remember that is hard. I think John, but not, I like him because I like his morals, but I didn't particularly find his chapters interesting. I think Sansa as well, it was really captivating for me. But coming into this one, it was like every character had become interesting, way more than the first book as well. I enjoyed Game of Thrones because obviously I wouldn't have continued with it if I didn't. But this one, I don't know whether it was I'd gotten more used to George's writing style or he's gotten better. I don't know what it is, but I found myself really enjoying every word and not slogging through it at all. And some of the characters like Davos, hey bud, come see it. Come see it. Hey. Hey. You want to say hello to everybody? Come here. Come on. It's cool. It's cool. Hey, you want to say hello? I need to put like some dog cartoon on my computer because that's behind the camera, because he will watch cartoons and he will respond to them, to certain things, particularly dogs barking. Even Davos, I think his name, the Onion Knight, his chapters, I found the book before this was so boring, but in this I was really fascinated by him too. I don't know what it was. Arya, surprisingly, I found her a little less interesting, and Daenerys, through the second book, even though I still liked Daenerys as a person, I didn't like some of her choices. But coming into this book for the majority of it, Daenerys, I was a bit like, and there was one scene where I was so mad at her towards the end of it, and then something changed and I'm back on the Daenerys boat. I love her. I do find it kind of funny and ironic that all of these different warring parties are trying to win because, I mean, some for revenge purposes, Robb Stark. But also because they think that they deserve it, because they think they will be good rulers. Some think it's because of their birthrights. The pain and suffering that they put their people through makes me wonder, are they really good rulers though, if they're letting people go through that? What I question now is that I understand that Tywin, Cersei and Jaime and Tyrion's dad, because it's been so long since I've read the first book, I struggle with, I get that he's an asshole because he's willing to do anything to rule, which is a bad thing, because there is no lengths that he won't go to rule when he's not getting his way. But I just struggle to think, but if he was ruling, would he be good? Like, I'm finding it really difficult because I don't remember, and there have been 5 different people going for the throne, and it drives me mad. Okay, so alright, if you want to pick a fight with Tywin, okay, you don't think he should win because he goes to any lengths to do whatever he wants. Okay, but I don't understand why the other 4 couldn't get together. Like, and it's the pride thing again, particularly with Stannis, it's the pride thing. But it frustrates me because I go like, come on, can you guys sit down in a room together, work out who's going to be the king, give the honours to the other people who wanted to be king. Like, it frustrates me, and maybe this isn't the kind of book for me, but it frustrates me that the 4 I understand why one of them that's going for the throne, why they couldn't have sat in a room, because they're not there yet. But the other 3, I just don't understand why they can't all sit in a room together, get rid of their pride, and make a friggin' decision so that they can unite their forces and kill Tywin. Because they would. Probably my favourite character in this volume was Tyrion, particularly because of his new marriage and the respect that he's giving his new wife. I would pick up the next volume really soon. I am back on board with this series, and I'm so excited to see where all these characters go. I'm even like Jaime, I'm having a soft spot for him. We're learning more of his background, and even though his romance is questionable, and I'm not really like, I'm deliberately trying to avoid spoilers for people because this is the 3rd book, and you know, I didn't read these first, I didn't watch the show first. This is the first time I'm experiencing it, and I'm so scared of spoilers, so please do not go and spoil anything in the comments if you're gonna comment. Every time, one of my workmates, she always, when she was noticing I was reading this, she's like, what are you up to? And I'm like, okay, but first, looking at everybody around, please do not give me spoilers. I've not seen this, and I don't want to be spoiled. I'm upset because some people have even sort of said, oh yeah, these people survive, and I'm like, that's a freaking spoiler for George R.R. Martin, a person that is renowned for killing people, and you've told me who survives. Like, no, I don't necessarily care about who wins, I suppose. I just want to see where the characters go and what they do with their individual storylines. And the last book I finished was Prisoners of the Palace by, I don't like the dust jacket as much, so I took it off, Michaela MacColl. This is her debut novel, which I've got to remember to put this back on because I am actually unhauling this one. So I'm keeping the Game of Thrones, as you can probably tell. I am unhauling this one. It's a solid 3.75 stars and an excellent debut. Excellent, excellent. And I've added another book that Michaela has written to my Goodreads Want Read shelf, so I don't forget about this when I unhaul it. Unfortunately, the start was a little bit slow, which is what led me to wanting to unhaul this book. Prisoners of the Palace is following a fictional maid the year before Princess Victoria becomes Queen of England. So that Victoria. Like I said, the plot was a little bit slow to start off with. I felt sympathy for Liza, who's the main character, because she was hoping to be introduced into society as a gentle lady. Her parents passed away and left her with substantial debts, so to make her way, she actually accepts a position as a maid for the young Princess Victoria, who is 17, just about to turn 18, and inherit her crown, so there's a year before that. And she is there to help the princess, to provide some companionship for her, but also to spy on her mother, the Duchess, and her mother's advisor, Sir John, because she speaks German but pretends that she doesn't, and the Duchess is German and her and Sir John talk in German. Michaela's writing style I felt really easy to get into to begin with. I don't know if you noticed this book from my try chapter challenge because I was unsure as to whether I wanted to read this. I decided after I did that I was going to keep this, and to jump straight onto the bandwagon while I was still feeling those feels, I decided to pick this one up. I really enjoyed Michaela's writing, which is a large part of the reason why I'm going to read another book in hers, because I have faith that with a different plot it'll definitely pick up. But I did enjoy this plot towards the second half and the end. It was only the start that was a bit slow, and I can't really identify why, just maybe that it wasn't executed as well as it could have been. But from the second half forward, I really enjoyed it. There were a few little problematic elements with the romance between Liza and another man, and there are a couple of instances where he drags her into a coffee shop, and in that same scene he slams his fists on a table. He's so cross, which I didn't really like, because I'm like, can you please express his anger in a different way? Maybe slamming the fists wasn't so bad, but on top of dragging her in somewhere, I was like, no. And then also when she is in the throes of grief towards the end of the book, she doesn't want to leave the scene of where this tragedy happens, and so he slaps her. And I'm like, okay, grow up gently and take her away. Please don't slap her. But aside from that, I really enjoyed this. The second half forward, the plot really picked up. I was really interested to see what was going to happen, and there were like a few nail-biting moments towards the end, which is why I ended up giving this book a solid 3.75 stars. Not good enough to keep it, but still I want to continue on with Michaela's writing. So those are all the books that I ended up reading in April. Tell me what you guys ended up reading. Comment down below if you would like to. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks everybody for watching me, and I will see you guys in another video. I post a new video every weekend. I feel confident enough to say that. I'm hopefully going to be getting into a Wednesday weekend routine. Not 100% sure, so at the moment I'm just saying every weekend, but I'm happy enough that I'm able to say that. Thanks everyone. Bye.